According to General Hospital spoilers, people are wondering if Drew Kane has just shown to be an imposter. Social media people are speaking out, arguing that the real thing would never go as far as Drew did, so let's talk about his new move. In the August 12th episode, Danny Morgan took Scout Quartermain from camp to the Quartermain home for some sibling bonding. Scout misses living with Danny and Rocco Falconeri, but Drew never follows through on his promises to let her visit the house and hang around. Scout enjoys visiting the stables and seeing Monica Quartermain, but Drew is unconcerned and always leaves her with a nanny. That's why Scout was so eager about the Quartermain estate visit, which prompted Drew to blow his top and order Harrison Chase to arrest Danny for kidnapping. Drew has been going lower and lower lately, but this is the final straw for some viewers. The old Drew would never have been cold enough to arrest Danny for wanting to spend time with his younger sister. That is especially true now that Danny and Scout have been forced to bear the pain of Sam McCall's death. Drew previously believed he was Jason Morgan and Danny's father owing to the memory mapping drama, which GH fans will never forget. Drew and Danny shared a special bond that has been entirely gone. Drew has recently attempted to lock up his teenage nephew, so this is truly horrible behavior. Drew has done some bad things, but he's completely out of control at this point. This Drew is nothing like the Drew that Billy Miller formerly played, so many viewers believe there is an imposter issue going on. Is it possible that Drew isn't truly Drew? Could Drew be a clone, a mask-wearing evil like Shiloh Archer, or at the very least brainwashed? Regardless, Drew hasn't been acting like himself in a long time, and the Danny arrest is possibly the most significant piece of imposter evidence yet. According to General Hospital spoilers, Drew will make some other shady moves and cause bad news for many key players on Canvas, so stay tuned for updates on all the chaos. Willow Tate may carry out a 3-step scheme to win Harrison Chase back. So here's how Willow can arrange a sneaky reunion with her former flame. Now that Willow is single again, she may see Chase as the appropriate man for her. Willow has been disappointed by Michael Corinthos and Drew Quartermain, so Chase is beginning to feel like the one who got away. Chase is married to Brooke Lynn Quartermain, but Willow will pursue Chase if she believes he is her perfect mate. Willow may go to any length to reclaim Chase as her man. Willow, on the other hand, may require a strategy in order to steal Chase away from Brooke Lynn. That brings us to Willow's 3-step plan to reclaim Chase and possibly resume their life together. 1. Make Chase feel like her hero. Chase is the type of guy who enjoys playing the hero and saving the damsel in distress, so Willow should embrace that and let him. Willow may rely on Chase to solve her difficulties and provide the assistance she requires in the future. That's the kind of thing that could entice Chase and divert his attention away from Brooke Lynn, so it could definitely help Willow with her reunion plan. 2. Highlight Willow's romantic history with Chase and their enduring bond. GH fans will soon see some bonding moments involving Chase opening out to Willow, which may remind Chase of their solid, loving relationship from the past. That might go a long way toward bringing Chase back to Willow's side, so she may be delighted with their progress in the upcoming episodes. 3. Drive a wedge between Chase and Brooke Lynn, of course. Another item on the checklist may be driving a wedge between Chase and Brooke Lynn. Willow could work to undermine Brooke Lynn and Chase's marriage, though she may not have to work too hard given Brooke Lynn and Chase's existing problems. Willow may easily take advantage of Chase's relationship problems and convince him that she is the greatest romantic option. As Chase's marriage to Brooke Lynn crumbles, Willow may be waiting to pick up the pieces of his broken heart. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow may be hoping for good news in her love life, so keep an eye out for updates on whether she will see Chase again. Drew had always been a figure of quiet confidence, the type of person who could go into a room and command attention without saying anything. His charisma was effortless, his smile captivating, and his ability to negotiate any circumstance made him appear nearly invulnerable. He was the guy who always knew what to say, whether to calm a difficult situation or to persuade a skeptic. People gravitated toward him not only because of his charisma, but because he appeared genuine, authentic, the kind of individual who stood by his ideals and followed a code. But suddenly that code was called into question. The border had been crossed, and it was disturbing the foundation of everyone's beliefs about him. What was the line? Nobody could agree on the specifics, but the rumors persisted. Some saw it as a betrayal, a moment of weakness that exposed a side of Drew that no one had seen before. Others muttered about a blatant falsehood that called into question every truth he'd ever told. Some believed it was something deeper, something awful, but they talked in ambiguous words, as if they were frightened to say it outright. The lack of clarification simply exacerbated the suspicion, transforming every interaction into a debate over who Drew truly was. Was he the man they'd always known, or had he played a part all along? The question bothered everyone, especially Drew. He had always taken pride in his sincerity. It was more than just a word for him. It was a way of life. Every decision he made, every commitment he kept contributed to the construction of his identity. He'd carefully constructed that wall over years of difficult decisions and quiet sacrifices. He wasn't perfect, nobody is, but he'd always thought he was loyal to himself. However, that belief was now being put to the test. The accusations were not limited to a single moment or mistake. They were about his true essence. Was he a fraudster? Had he lied to everyone, even himself? The thought was awful, but it lingered in his head like a shadow he couldn't shake. It began with a single occurrence, which appeared innocuous at the time. A careless comment, a hasty decision, a choice that at the time appeared to be the only option. However, context is a tricky thing, and what appeared fair to Drew may appear damning to others. The tale stretched, twisted, and gained legs on its own. By the time it reached those closest to him, it had become unrecognizable, a twisted version of the reality that portrayed him as something he did not recognize. He attempted to explain, to correct the record, but the more he spoke, the deeper the hole appeared to grow. Words, once his greatest ally, had become his nemesis, tripping him up and betraying him at every turn. His buddies were split. Some stood by him, insisting that the Drew they knew would never breach an uncrossable line. They cited his history, particularly his reputation of loyalty and decency. They remembered how he went out of his way to help, listen, and be present when no one else was. Others, however, were less certain. They noticed flaws in the veneer, instances when his actions did not quite match the man he claimed to be. An angry phrase here, a questionable choice there. Minor details perhaps, but enough to make them wonder. Did they miss the signs? Had they been overly trusting, believing in Drew's myth? The truth was that Drew was no longer sure of himself. He repeated the incident in his head over and over, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. Had he crossed the line? He did not think so at first. But doubt has a way of creeping in, making you question even the things you're certain of. He reflected on who he was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and even last year. Was he still that person? Or had he altered so gradually and subtly that the man in the mirror was no longer the same? The concept horrified him. If he wasn't who he claimed to be, who was he? The environment surrounding him did not assist. Social media, that relentless machine of judgment, had taken up on the story and run with it. Posts on X analyzed his every move, with strangers commenting as if they'd known him for years. Some defended him, claiming that the accusations were exaggerated, a witch hunt motivated by jealousy or misunderstanding. Others ripped him apart, their words caustic and cruel, calling him a fake, a liar and an imposter. The term stings. Imposter. It was more than just an accusation. It was a verdict that, if accepted, would define him. Drew attempted to ignore the sounds, but it proved impossible. Every notification and hushed discussion felt like a needle in his skin. He stopped going out as much and stopped returning calls. The world he once knew so well now felt like a minefield. He wondered whether this was what it was like to lose yourself. Not in a big theatrical fashion, but in a steady grinding degradation of who you believed you were. He wanted to fight back and recover his story, but he wasn't sure where to begin. The line, whatever it was, had become a barrier, isolating him from the life he had known. His sister was the one who eventually got through to him. She arrived up suddenly at his flat one night, carrying a bottle of wine and a no-nonsense expression in her eyes. "You're letting them win," she remarked, pouring him a drink. "You're allowing their perception of you to become the truth." She didn't seek answers or reasons. She didn't need them. She had known him his entire life, through every achievement and disappointment, and she was not going to let him sink in self-doubt. "You're not perfect, Drew," she stated. "But you aren't an imposter. You're only human." Her comments were a lifeline, but they did not eliminate the questions. Drew realized he had to face the accusations, not only for his reputation but also for himself. He began small, reaching out to those who were most affected, those who had been hurt or puzzled by what they had heard. He did not attempt to distort the story or escape the reality. He admitted his shortcomings, acknowledged the gray areas, and attempted to explain what he was thinking when he made the fateful decision. Some listened while others did not. But simply attempting putting himself out there was enough to begin rebuilding what had been broken. The line, he realized, was not a fixed position. It was not something you cross once and could never return from. It was a barrier that changed with perspective and time. What mattered was not the line itself, but how he handled it today. Did he let it define him, or did he grow from it? Did he avoid the accusations, or did he confront them full on? The answers were not simple, but they were his to uncover. In the end, Drew did not have all of the answers. He wasn't sure if he'd ever completely silence the critics or repair the harm to his reputation. But he was certain he wasn't an imposter. He was a man who had made a mistake, slipped under pressure, and was still striving to be better. The real Drew was not perfect, but he was genuine. And that, he determined, was enough. Step 1 was about reconnecting, not confrontation. Willow understood that sending Chase tearful voicemails or long, emotional texts would only push him away. He'd asked for space, which she would respect, but she also knew that utter silence would cause their link to fade into the background of his life. She started small and deliberate. A week after their separation, she sent him a single message, a snapshot of a sunset over the lake where they'd spent their first date, with the simple phrase, "Thought of you today." There was no pressure, no demands, just a calm reminder of a moment they'd both treasured. She did not expect a response, and she did not receive one, but that was fine. The seed was planted. Over the next few days, she discovered subtle ways to be present without overpowering him. She replied on a common friend's post that he had liked, a light-hearted remark about a meme that made her chuckle, knowing he would see it. She published a playlist on social media that she had curated with songs they had listened to while driving late at night, with only one new track added to keep it interesting. Each movement was deliberate, a little shove to remind him of the warmth they had shared without making him feel trapped. Willow also realized she couldn't rely solely on memories. She needed to show Chase she was developing, not just pining. So she flung herself into her own life with a zeal she hadn't had in months. She enrolled in a photography class she'd always wanted to take but never did, and shared her first attempts at photographing city lights and coffee shop corners. She didn't tag him, but she was confident he'd see the posts through their mutual social circles. She resumed running, which they'd done together in the beginning, and told a quick anecdote about breaking her personal record, her cheeks flushed with pride. These weren't pranks to make him jealous. They were confirmation that she was still the vivacious, ambitious woman he'd fallen for, not someone who had vanished in the aftermath of their split. She wanted him to see her thriving rather than pleading, since she knew confidence was magnetic. And deep down she was doing it for herself as well, building her sense of self-worth piece by piece, so that even if this plan failed she'd still be standing. The second stage was more difficult, rekindling their emotional connection without pressuring it. Willow waited 3 weeks before suggesting a meeting. She did not position it as a date or a serious chat. Instead, she texted him about a local art fair they'd both enjoyed attending the year before. "Hey, I'm heading to the art fair this weekend. Remember how we got lost in the maze of stalls last time? No pressure, but if you're free, it'd be nice to catch up." The invitation was casual and open-ended, with an easy out if he wasn't ready. To her astonishment, he agreed, albeit cautiously. "Yeah, it sounds fun. I'll let you know." When Saturday arrived, he appearing both familiar and distant, his hands tucked into his pockets as they walked through the busy fair. Willow kept things light, smiling at a whimsical painting of a dog with sunglasses, and inquiring about his new job without getting too personal. She never mentioned their breakup or inquired about their current situation. Instead, she let the situation unfold, allowing him to feel at ease being with her again. When they parted ways, she hugged him lightly, her smile unwavering even as her pulse raced. She said, "This was nice," and left it at that. She could tell he was still guarded, but there was a flash in his eyes, perhaps curiosity or relief. Willow expanded on that moment over the course of the following weeks. She invited him to group hangouts with their mutual acquaintances, so he never felt pressed for one-on-one time. She mocked him about his bad geography answers at a trivia night, as she had done before, and caught him laughing in an unguarded way. She emailed him a link to an article about a band they both enjoyed, resulting in a quick text discussion that felt almost natural. Each interaction was like a thread, drawing them closer without pulling too hard. She listened intently as he spoke, picking up on the tension he indicated about work or the fact that he appeared quieter than normal. She didn't force him to open up, but she made sure he knew she was there by leaving tiny gestures like a coffee order at his office with a note. "Heard you've been slammed. I hope this helps." She was showing him that she still understood him and that she could be his safe space again, without expecting him to reciprocate before he was ready. The third step was the most daring, rekindling the spark that had first brought them together. Willow knew Chase had fallen for her spontaneity and ability to make ordinary situations into adventures. So she devised something that would feel like a page from their history, but with enough newness to avoid feeling like a rerun. She remembered how they had previously discussed stargazing but never got around to it. One evening she sent him an invitation. "I'm going to the hill by the reservoir tonight to watch the meteor shower. Bring a blanket if you wish to join." She chose a location they'd never been to before, one devoid of old memories but rich in new ones. When he arrived, she had a simple picnic set up with snacks they both enjoyed and a thermos of hot chocolate. They lay on the blanket, staring at the sky, the silence between them pleasant for the first time in weeks. When a meteor shot across the sky, they both startled, and she grabbed his hand reflexively. He did not pull away. They talked for hours about everything and everything: work, dreams, and how the stars appeared to have all the answers. She did not ask him to clarify them or insist on a commitment. She simply let the night unfold, confident that the magic would speak for itself. Willow's aim as weeks moved into months was not to force Chase back into a relationship, but to give him the freedom to pick her again. She maintained her gentle reminders, progress, openness, and spirit of adventure. She noticed that he was sending texts faster and smiling for longer. One night, during a friend's bonfire, he approached her quietly. "I've missed this," he said, gesturing toward the gap between them. "I've missed you." It wasn't a huge statement, but it was sufficient. Willow didn't need him to say he was fully committed, not yet. She understood that love was not a sprint or a checklist. It was a gradual, steady rebuild. She grinned and squeezed his hand. "I'm still here," she declared, and she meant it. Willow's plan didn't include manipulation or extravagant gestures. It was about showing Chase who they could be again, not by deleting the past but by constructing something fresh on its foundation. She had given him room to breathe, demonstrated that she was still the woman he had loved, and reminded him of the joy they could create together. It wasn't entirely up to her whether or not it worked out, and she was fine with that. She discovered her own strength in the process, and it was an unexpected victory. For the time being, she would continue to show up, grow, and believe in their possibility, one cautious step at a time. General Hospital spoilers for the week of August 18th to 22nd hint that Michael Corinthos will face a difficult situation while Jocelyn Jacks goes wild. Jason Morgan will also seek answers from Britt Westbourne, so expect some intense GH moments. First, Drew Kane will continue to illustrate that he is a total threat to society. Drew appears to be preparing to back Michael into a corner after employing additional manipulative tactics. Drew may use deception to persuade Michael to let Willow Tate visit the children, but Michael is unlikely to give in. Michael needs to do what's best for his children, but Drew will make things more difficult in the following episodes. Meanwhile, Willow and Harrison Chase's friendship will become even stronger. The scenario may be platonic for the time being, but how long will it remain so? Brooklyn Quartermain may be so preoccupied with Giovanni Gio Palmieri that she misses Chase and Willow's growing relationship. Brooklyn and Dante Falconeri appear to be teaming up to persuade Gio to open his heart, even if just slightly. Lulu Spencer may have some regrets about agreeing to adopt Outback. Outback isn't the easiest dog to deal with, so she's bound to cause some problems when she fits into Lulu's home. Rocco Falconeri agreed to assist with Outback, but he is busy with his pool job and may not be able to contribute as much as Lulu would like. Liesl Albrecht is determined to pursue her Rocco agenda. Albrecht's attachment to Rocco is understandable, given that he is her last link to Britt. Britt will face Jason's questions following their dramatic reunion at the Five Poppies Resort. Jason will eventually press Britt for answers regarding her alleged death, and the true reason she is still on the property. Britt may not reveal all of the circumstances just yet, but she is clearly being pressured into assisting with her drug doses. Britt appears to have landed a miraculous Huntington's disease treatment, but only after good lab results. Jocelyn will decide to go rogue and reject Jack Brennan's directives. Jocelyn will be determined to get information from Britt, but if she isn't careful, she may blow her cover and expose her WSB gig to Jason as well. Since it appears that Jocelyn will save Vaughn from a life-threatening scenario, she may argue that he owes her. Even if Vaughn disagrees with Jocelyn's risky actions, she may caution him not to stop her from accomplishing what she needs to do. According to General Hospital spoilers, Jocelyn may wind up infuriating Brennan, so stay tuned for updates on all the terrifying news and explosive consequences. The General Hospital recap is officially here for Tuesday, August 12, 2025. Fans should expect Jocelyn Jacks to identify Britt Westbourne. Meanwhile, Lucas Jones gets slapped, and Carly Spencer kicks out Liesl Albrecht. Vaughn's kiss Jocelyn awakens as Vaughn brings her breakfast into bed. She confronts him for allowing her to sleep in so late. The handler kisses her on the forehead before sending the room service away. Joss asks if the kiss was essential and he says, absolutely. He explains that they need to maintain their cover story. Vaughn recommends they go on a romantic walk through the garden to search for anything out of place. Jocelyn recommends they break up. According to Joss, there are no phones at the spa, and guests will be at ease. Vaughn does not think it would be simple, but she agrees to do it her way. Britt Westbourne's reward. Britt lies beside the pool, glancing at a photograph of Rocco Falconeri and Liesl. Pascal approaches. The brunette deserved her break. Pascal agrees that the job was quite impressive. As Jocelyn returns to Vaughn, the handler deals with Britt at the pool. He sits down and removes his shirt quickly. He fabricates a narrative regarding real estate in the region. They talk about the resort's manager. Britt considers him useless. Then Vaughn asks Britt to show him around, but she mentions the wedding ring. Is he happily married? Britt inquires. Vaughn jokes that it's too soon to tell. Britt wonders how his wife would react to her conversing with another woman. A hotel employee attempts to escort Joss, but she responds, "There's my husband." Vaughn doesn't hear, and Joss observes him interacting with Britt. She is jealous. Vaughn is now offering to massage sunscreen on Britt's back. Joss cannot believe what she sees as Britt turns around. Doggone dilemma as Gio Palmieri and Rocco discuss the dog. Liesl walks in. She's thrilled with the cute tiny creature. She comes to pet the dog just as Lulu Spencer goes past the pool area. She almost takes a step forward before changing her mind and going the opposite direction. Joe's break is about to end, therefore he must leave. After he leaves, Rocco asks Liesl if Britt enjoyed pets. Anna Devane confronted. Anna Devane attempts to reason with Emma Scorpio Drake, while holding a glass of juice. Emma confronts her grandma about canceling Professor Henry Hank Dalton's speech. Emma doesn't understand why Anna is getting in her way. The commissioner is attempting to save Emma from herself. Later, Gio informs Emma that Anna is a former spy, and the plot is complete. Emma disagrees. Lucas Jones Drew Kane steps off the hospital elevator and approaches Willow Tate, who is busy working. She attempts to get rid of him, but he continues to chat. Lucas interrupts and urges him to go lost. He possesses resources that she does not. Willow doesn't care and attempts to walk away, but he stops her. She tells him not to pretend to be a good guy. The phone rings and Drew learns that Scout Quartermain is missing. Willow's head rises in worry as she overhears, and Drew fills her in. Willow tries to reassure him from a distance, while Lucas eavesdrops. Willow then thanks Lucas. He does, however, call out the nurse. Drew embarrassed her in public, so why bother with him? Lucas feels it's pathetic, and Willow doesn't handle it well. Willow hits him across the face while they continue to argue about Drew and Wiley Corinthos. He genuinely gasps. Lulu goes to see Carly Spencer and asks her to evict Liesl from the Metro Court today. The reporter shows Liesl and Rocco caressing a puppy. Carly says sarcastically, "That is terrible." Lulu keeps ranting. Carly tries to talk Lulu down, but she continues to push. Carly agrees. After Lulu exits the Metro Court, Carly watches Alexis Davis and Marco Rios conversing. Danny Morgan's crime. Jason Morgan inquires as to what is happening.